Hello, class 12 children. Good morning. Today is Monday, and as per your routine, you have English paper 2 or English literature to continue. As usual, I'm back with the routine. This is your Yogesh sir teaching you English paper 2 through online class. Uh, Before we take up today's lesson, uh, let us bring back that happiness we had in our last online class. In the last online class, we brought an end of our drama, The Tempest, written by William Shakespeare. Hope you are revising uh, the textbook and the notes to the completed portion of the textbook The Tempest will be passed on to you very shortly, and do continue copying them in your drama exercise note as soon as they are given. So today let us be back with our prose or the stories that we are left with. We are left with uh, 5 chapters, as I uh, think so. 5 of the chapters we have already completed in our last session as per the prescribed syllabus by the council. Let us recall those chapters which you have already gone through with all the up-to-date notes on those chapters. They are Salvatore, written by William Somerset Maugham. Number 2, Fridge by Satyajit Ray. Number 3, Quality by John Glassworthy. Uh, then we move down. Chapter 6, The Chinese Statue by Jeffrey Archer. Then chapter number 7, Gorilla in the Guest Room by Gerard Terrell. So these were the chapters we had already completed in our last session. The remaining chapters with us, let us again have a quick look. They are chapter number 4, To Build a Fire by Jack London. Number 5, The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin. Number 8, The Singing Lesson by Catherine Maspel. Number 9, The Sound Machine by Roald Dahl. And chapter 10 by B.Wordsworth by V.S. Naipaul. So today's chapter, let us take a simple, short and sweet chapter so that we can complete uh, in less number of days that we can do it. And let us also take an easy chapter so that it would uh, make us easy to carry on with the remaining chapters we have in the textbook. So today's chapter that I have chosen is an interesting one. It's a simple chapter, and it tells us about the life of uh, the poets and the authors, or the artists you can call, living in the world, who are existing in the world. How tough the life has become for these people. Whenever they do write the poems or stories, it becomes very difficult for them to find their purchasers. Thus, uh, the livelihood of such lives have become, or such people have become very tough, right? So it needs a tough time to adjust himself or herself in the society where one lives, right? After all, money is the biggest factor for everybody, right? If you have money, you have everything, as today's world has come to, right? So the chapter that we are going to see today is chapter number 10, B. Wordsworth, written by V.S. Naipaul. So let us see the last chapter that we have in our textbook, right? Chapter number 10. So before we talk about what the story is, we'll briefly see the writer's introduction, V.S. Naipaul. So Vidyadhar Suraj Prasad Naipaul was born on 17th August in the year 1939 in Trinidad and Tobago. He was a British writer of the Indian origin, right? But born and brought up in Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. right? And he is known in the world as British writer, and also known as a Trinidadian writer, right? And he is a winner of a Nobel Prize, right? He is given a knighted, right, the honorary title in the year 1989 by the British uh, royals. So he's called as Sir Vidyadhar Suraj Prasad Naipaul, popularly known as V.S. Naipaul, right? And he received the Nobel Prize in the year 2001 for his extraordinary publication called Half a Life, right? So for this publication, he is awarded the Nobel Prize. And the present chapter that we are going to know, B. Wordsworth, is narrated by a small boy, right? And he tells about his meeting with the so-called poet, right? And the story takes place in the Miguel Street, and it tells us about the life of the poets and the authors. uh, Really stand very tough, right? It's very, very difficult to adjust being an author and a poet in the society, right? So how here the child narrates the meeting with B. Wordsworth. He is going to beautifully narrate us in this story. So here we go. The great author V.S. Naipaul died on 11th August in the year 2018 in London, United Kingdom. Very recently he died. So he has given us a very beautiful story, P. Wordsworth. So now let's carry on what he writes in this story. So the story, B. Wordsworth, takes place in Miguel Street, right? And it is a story about an unsuccessful poet, right, whose name is B. Wordsworth, and he meets a small boy in the story, who is an unnamed boy in the story, and the very unnamed boy in the story is the narrator of the story. He tells about the story of B. Wordsworth. So how the story goes, let us now see. B. Wordsworth, written by Sir B.S. Naipaul. So B here stands for black Wordsworth. So let us see. The story is narrated by a small boy. The story goes like this. Three beggars called punctually every day at the hospitable houses in Miguel Street. As I already said, the story takes place in the Miguel Street, and in this Miguel Street, you see the beggars normally do come to ask alms early in the morning in the houses in this Miguel Street. Likewise, one day there were three beggars who called punctually every day. Called here means who knocked the house in the Miguel Street every day at the hospitable houses. Hospitable houses because from these houses these beggars are given something or the other, right? So these houses are called hospitable houses, who take care and attention of those people. At about 10, an Indian came in his dhoti and white jacket. So one such beggar came at 10 o'clock in the morning, who is dressed in dhoti and white jacket. And we poured a tin of rice into the sack he carried on his back. And we, the family of the narrator, who is a small boy in his family, we poured. Who poured means we put a tin of rice into the sack he carried on his back. So some of the houses, they offer money, right? Some offer coin, some eatable items, and some uncooked items, right, to the beggars. Whatever possibility that one can like to donate, right? So here the author, the boy, and his family, they offered a tin of rice to this beggar. At 12, an old woman smoking a pipe came and she got a cent. And at 12 o'clock, a woman came. She was an old woman and she was smoking a pipe, right? She was smoking a cigar. She came and she was offered a cent. Cent is money, right? At 2, a blind man led by a boy called for his penny. And at 2 o'clock, Another beggar came who was blind, and he was helped, he was courted, he was guided by a small boy who caught hold of his father's hand, called for his money, and he asked penny, he asked money, and he was given. Right? So three beggars did every day come to the Mcvilly street to ask alms, as they are the beggars, right? And they are offered this and that by the people living in this Mcvilly street. Sometimes we had a rook, and sometimes we have rowdy people also coming at the door. Rogue is a rowdy person, right? A scoundrel. One day, a man called and said he was hungry. So one day, at the house of the author, the house of the narrator, one day a man called. One man came and knocked at the door. Right, door in the sense the fence gate, and he said that he was hungry. We gave him a meal. So since he was hungry, so we provided him food, some eatable things to the man. He asked for a cigarette, and after having the meal, he then asked for a cigarette and wouldn't go until we lit it for him, and he did not take leave until we lighted him the cigarette. Right? That man never came again. So after that, the man was never seen. Right? He was just there for once, and after that, where did he go? What did he do? God knows. The strangest caller came one afternoon at about 4 o'clock. One afternoon at 4 o'clock, right? A very strange caller came. A beggar-like person came at the door. Since the beggars were coming at any moment, at any time. So one day, a very strange, unknown person came one afternoon at around 4 o'clock. I had come back from school and was in my home clothes. So I had gone to school and have come back. And I had just changed my dress into my home dress. The man said to me, right? So when there was a knock at the gate, the veranda gate, I went out. The man said to me, seeing me, the strange man said, the known man said, Sonny, Sonny means son, oh son, may I come inside your yard? So may I come inside your house courtyard, house veranda, house area, right? He was a small man. So the man who was strange was short-heighted man, right? He was a small man, and he was tidily dressed, but he was neatly dressed, tidily dressed. His dress up was well. He wore a hat, a white shirt, and black trousers. So he was fine looking gentleman. I asked, what do you want? And I asked him, what do you want? Right? Because who knows, any man, right, who gets into the house courtyard would be gentle, right? So I tried to inquire about the man, what he wanted. He said, I want to watch your bees. And he told, the strange man said, I just want to come inside your courtyard or inside your yard just to have a look at the bees in your yard. We had 4 small gru palm trees, and in our house yard, there were fruit trees. Gru trees means fruit trees, right? Uh, and in these trees, there were uninvited bees, and they were full of uninvited bees, and these trees were full of uninvited bees because the bees came themselves and made their beehives there. We didn't invite them in, right? So they are called uninvited bees. I ran up the steps and shouted. So before I let the man in, since I was a small boy, I need to first let know my elders at home, right? What is the wish of the strange man, right outside? So I ran up the steps and shouted. I called my mother, Ma, it have a man outside here. He say he want to watch the bees. So a man has come outside and he's wanting to come in our yard so as to look at the bees. So what should I do? He asked his mother. My mother came out. So the mother also came out to see, right, who the man was. Looked at the man. He looked at the man and asked in an unfriendly way. And she also did not recognize who the person was. She also found that the man was unknown to her. So she became unfriendly to talk to her. So quite rudely she asked, what do you want? She also asked, what did you want? Look at the way how English has been used by mother and son, right? So it seems that they are not locally the English speaking people, right? So this happens in Trinidad and Tobago, right? That's why here the English used by the family, the author and the narrator and the mother is not, you can say, rightly spoken. So what you want? He asked. The man said, I want to watch your bees. So the man was straight away, and he placed his desire that he wanted to come in the yard so as to look at the bees. His English was so good. The man who was neatly dressed was not only neatly dressed, not only tidily dressed, he was also well in speaking in English. So he said his English was so good. It didn't sound natural, and I could see my mother was worried. So the narrator who was stood behind the mother, uh, he then noticed the mother was quite worried because the man spoke good English. She had perhaps had no, you can say, response to respond the unknown man. She said to me, "Stay here and watch him while he watches the bees." Right? So she just told me, uh, the small boy, you wait here till the man comes inside our yard and watches the bees and goes by. Right? So until then, you be here. Right? Saying this, the mother went inside. That means indirectly she permitted the man to get inside the yard and have a look at the bees, what he had desired. The man said, "Thank you, ma'am. You have done a good deed today." So the man became very happy. Right? He came inside, thanking the mother, and also applauded uh, the mother, saying that she really had done, right, a good job today, allowing a man to come inside the yard and fulfilling his desire to have a look at the bees. He spoke very slowly and very correctly, as though every word was costing him money. So the little man, the short-heighted man, spoke slowly, taking his own time. But whatever he said, whatever he spoke was very correct, right? As if every word would cost him money. Now see, we watched the bees, this man and I. So since I was told by my mother that I should stand there until the man has seen the bees and gone, right? So we watched the bees as he was watching the bees. So was I watching both of them, this man and I, for about an hour. So it went for nearly 60 minutes. Squatting near the palm trees. Squatting means sitting on the hills. We both sat on the hills as we stood there about 1 hour. So we got tired. So we both sat down, squatted there on the ground, and both of them kept our eyes on the bees. The man said, "I like watching bees. Sunny, do you like watching bees?" And then the man asked me, right? He told, "I like watching bees." And he asked me whether I also like watching bees or not. I said, "I don't have the time." And I told, the small boy said, "I don't have the time." That means I don't have the time, right, to watch the bees. He shook his head sadly. On my negative response, the unknown man shook his head very sadly. He felt very sad. He felt very bad, right, what I was missing. He said, then he told, "That's what I do." And he said, that's what he does, right? He loves watching bees. I just watch. So he says, he just loves watching such bees. I can watch ants for days, and I can watch ants for, right, how many hours? He says, God knows. Have you ever watched ants? And he questioned me. If I haven't watched bees, okay, then have you watched ants? He asked me. And scorpions, and centipedes, and congoris. Have you watched those? Congoris means mound, heap large in numbers. Have you seen the ants making the anthill? Right? Likewise, he asked, right, whether do I watch scorpions, centipedes, right? Insects. Centipede is an insect which has uh, many numbers of legs, right? Here, the man asked me. I shook my head. So I responded by shaking my head, saying no. Right? That means I'm not at all interested in watching all these. Right? Nor do I have time to watch all these. I said, "What you does do, mister?" And then I asked him, the known man, right, "Mister, what do you do? What work do you do?" I asked him. He got up and said, "I'm a poet." And on my question, he got up and then he responded that he was a poet. He called that he was a poet. I said, "A good poet." Then I asked him, "Are you a good poet? Right? Or simply a poet?" I asked him. He said, "The greatest in the world." And he told me that he is the greatest poet in the world. Right? He told me. I got interested to know him. Then I asked him, what is your name, Mister? Then I asked him, Mister, tell me what is your name? And he told, B. Wordsworth. Right? He said. Right? Since he abbreviated his first name, B. Wordsworth, then I felt like asking him. So I asked B for Bill. Are you Bill Wordsworth? Here the boy asked, the narrator asked the man. He said, black. He said, no, I am not Bill, I am black. He said, Black Wordsworth is my name, he told. White Wordsworth was my brother, and he told, White Wordsworth is my brother. White Wordsworth refers to William Wordsworth. He's my brother, right? Now, how is it that William Wordsworth is his brother? Is because we share one heart, because we both of us are poets. William Wordsworth is a poet, and I am also a poet, so we share same heart. That's why we two are brothers. He said, I can watch a small flower like the morning glory and cry. So I can watch the flower for long, long hours. Just like when you see the beautiful bloom, right, flower in the morning, and you shout, you cry, right, on seeing it. Then I asked him, right, why do you just cry? Then I asked him, the small boy, he asked the man, B. Wordsworth, right, seeing the flower, why do you cry? Why there is a need to shed tears on seeing the flowers? He asked. Why, boy? Then he said, well, boy, why? Why do you watch it? He says, you will know when you grow up. So you will know when you grow up. That means now you're a small boy, so you don't know what do you do, right? And since I am a grown-up man, I am the greatest poet of the world, so I know myself, right? Why do I cry when seeing the flowers? He said, you'll also know. Similarly, you'll also know when you grow up. You are a poet too, you know. And he encouraged him. He told the small boy that he was also a poet. You are also a poet, right? You must be knowing it, right? Why do I cry? And when you are a poet, you can cry for everything. And he said, and when you become a poet, you cry for everything, right? Everything that you see will make you cry, the poet told, right? B. Wordsworth told the small boy. I couldn't laugh. So listening this, I couldn't laugh, right? He said, you like your mother? Then he asked me, changing the topic, right? He asked me, B. Wordsworth asked me, do you like your mother? Right? He asked me. Then I responded, when she not beating me. I also said back, when my mother doesn't beat me, right? Then I like her. That means when I am beaten by my mother, then I perhaps don't like my mother, right? Every child would have the same feelings towards the parents. When they beat the children try to avoid going near to the parents, right? So the boy also responded in a similar context. He said, when she not beating me, that means when my mother doesn't beat me, then I'm a great fond of my mother, right? He pulled out a printed sheet from his hip pocket and said, and then he pulled out a printed sheet, right? A paper which is written on his hip pocket, and then he told me, on this paper is the greatest poem about mothers, and I'm going to sell it to you at a bargain price for 4 cents. And he told, in this printed paper, I have written a poem about mother, right? It's about mothers, right? And I'm going to sell this poem at a very, very low cost, bargain rate. You don't even need to reduce the price. I have already made it into a very small cost, he said. Just 4 cents, he said, right? Pay it and take it. The man, B. Wordsworth, told this to the boy. I went inside and I said, Ma, you want to buy a poetry for 4 cents? Being interested, right, at the poet, and already encouraged that I am also a poet, I went inside and asked my mother, right, mother, do you want to buy a poetry at a very low cost, just 4 cents? He asked. And look at the reaction of the mother. My mother said, tell that blasted man to haul his tail away from my yard. You hear? The mother became angry, right? And she showed her anger, saying what? Tell that blasted man. Blasted man means that annoying man, that angry man, right? That I hate him, right? Tell that annoying man, irritated man, to haul his tail. Haul means to drag his tail, pull his tail away from here, from my courtyard, from my yard, right? Do you hear? She shouted at me, right? Which means that, okay, I should now tell the man to go now, right? So she also at the same time told that she is not at all interested in buying the poem or poetry, Right? So see, I said to B.Wordsworth, right? My mother say, see, and have person. So I came out, right? And how can I chase him out, right? I instead told the man, B.Wordsworth, my mother say that she has no portions, that she is having no money right now, so she cannot buy. She don't have money, right? So she is not able to buy the poem from you. B.Wordsworth said, it is the poet's tragedy. Then B.Wordsworth said, it is the poet's tragedy. Tragedy means misfortune, right? It is the poet's disaster that we work hard so uh, much and then write, create, compose some poems, and when we want to sell these poems, right, we don't get even a small amount for the cost of those poems that we write, right? Beaversworth said this. So he told his own pain of being a poet. Writing so lovely poems fetch nothing, right? So Beaversworth said, it is the poet's tragedy, it is the poet's misfortune, right? It's the disaster of a poet that we do. We work hard so much and we are not regarded in the society where we live. And he put the paper back in his pocket. He didn't seem to mind. And what did he do? He again folded the paper back and kept it in his pocket where it was. And he didn't seem to mind on the negative response from my mother, that she is not interested to buy the poem. Right? Perhaps it is the same story wherever he went, and um, uh, told the people to buy his poem. Told the people to buy his poem. Now see, I said, it is a funny way to go around selling poetry like that. Then I told him, B. Wordsworth, don't you find it funny way that you write the poem and keep going around the people's house, knocking at the doors and trying to sell your poems? Right? Isn't it funny? I asked him. Only Calypsonians do that sort of things. And I told him, only Calypsonians do these sort of things. What is, or who are Calypsonians? Calypsonians are the Caribbean singers. They are actually from southeast of Mexico and North America. Right? They are in a group. They go places to places, singing the songs and on money. Right? So I told him only Calypsonian do that sort of things, because they go place to place and sing in groups and then earn their living. I told him a lot of people does buy. Right? He said no one has yet bought a single copy. Right? And B. Wordsworth told me nobody has so far bought a single copy from him. That means not a single poem is sold. Right? He told. But why you does keep on going around then? And I asked, the boy asked, B. Wordsworth, so if not a single copy of your poems are sold, right, then why do you visit those people? Why do you go around selling your poems? Right? He said, he asked, he said, in this way I watch many things and I always hope to meet poets. Right? And then B. Wordsworth said, so in this way I watch many things. That means going to the people's houses, I can see these and that things. Likewise, I have seen today the bees at your yard, right? And I hope to meet poets in my life, right? He said. I said, you really think I is a poet? Then I asked him, do you really think that I am also a poet? Right? He asked. Then the man said, you are as good as me, he said. B. Wordsworth said, you are as good as me, right? In writing the poems, right? Or having the eyes just like the poet have, right? He said. And when B. Wordsworth left, I prayed I would see him again. And when he went, B. Wordsworth went, right? After his departure, the small boy felt that he should see him again in his life, right? He wished to see him again in his life, right? About a week later, 7 days gone by, right? Coming back from school one afternoon, I was returning from my school, right, after the school got over. I met him at the corner of Miguel Street. But before I reached home, right, I met the same person, B. Wordsworth, right, at the Miguel Street, where I have my house there, right. He said, seeing me, I have been waiting for you for a long time. So he said to me, B. Wordsworth said to me that he was waiting for me since a long time, right, he said. I said, you sell any poetry yet? And I asked him, seeing him, did you sell any poems? Right? I asked him. He shook his head. That means it was a negative response, right, from him, saying that not a single poem has been sold so far, right? He said, in my yard I have the best mango tree in Port of Spain. And he said, in my yard there is a mango tree, and the mango tree uh, bores uh, a lot of mangoes, right? He told. Where it is? It is in Port of Spain. Port of Spain is the capital of Trinidad and Tobago, right, where he lives. And now the mangoes are ripe, and now the mangoes are ripened. Just now it is the mango season going on, right? And red and very sweet and juicy, and they are very red. They have ripened, right? They have become yellowish, juicy. I have walked here for you to tell you this and to invite you to come and eat some of my mangoes. I have come here and waiting for you, right, just to see you, so that I can invite you to my house where you can eat some of the ripened mangoes that I have at my house yard, he said. He lived in Alberto Street. Mr. B.Wordsworth lived in the Alberto Street, right? And the scene is taking place in the Miguel Street, right? And the address where B.Wordsworth lives is in Alberto Street in Port of Spain. In a one-roomed hut, so it's a hut, right? Not a big house to live in. It has just one room, placed right in the center of the lot. So it is in the center of the place, surrounded by the trees, the fruit trees all around, right? The yard seemed all green. The yard where B. Wordsworth lives, is all surrounded by the greenery. There was the big mango tree, and indeed it was true. I went with him, since he was inviting me to have mangoes at his place. So I went with him, right, before I went to my home and changed my dress in the school uniform. One day I went to Alberto Street with B. Wordsworth. There was a coconut tree. What I find inside the yard, there was a coconut tree, and there was a plum tree, right? These are all fruit trees. The place looked wild. The place where he lived, right, looked wild, because there were many trees growing here and there, right? And though it wasn't in the city at all, right, as though it wasn't in the city at all. When I entered in the house yard of B. Wordsworth, I found that I have come to a small wood. I have come to a small forest. I am far away from the city areas, right? I felt likewise. You couldn't see all the big concrete houses in the street. And in Alberto Street, there were no concrete buildings also. There were small, small huts, right? He was right. That means B. Wordsworth was very right, right? That he said that his mango tree bore um, sweet and juicy mangoes. The mangoes were sweet and juicy indeed. I tasted, right? And I found it sweet and juicy as it was. I ate about 6. So 6 of the mangoes I finished, right? It was so lovely. And the yellow mango juice ran down my arms to my elbows. And how did I eat, you see? Right? Voracious, right? The mango juice ran from my arm, from the elbows, and down my mouth to my chin, and my shirt was stained. My school uniform was completely marked with yellowish, right? The juice of the mango. My mother said when I got home, and after that, right, I went home, saying goodbye to B. Wordsworth. I went back to my home. When I reached home, my mother then said, where you was? My mother asked, where you were? This is not the time that your school gets over. You think you is a man now and could go all over the place. So do you think that you are a man now, you are grown up now, that you can go anywhere you like after the school gets over? She scolded me, right? In the question itself, there was a scolding. Go cut a whip for me. And she ordered to go out and cut a whip. Whip is a stick, a cane, right? Bring a cane for me, stick for me, she asked. I went out, got a cane as she wanted. She bet me rather badly, and with the same stick she bet me so badly, right? And I ran out of the house swearing that I would never come back. And the beaten boy, the narrator, ran out of the home, right? Swearing, promising that I'll never come back to this house again, right? So you can imagine how he was beaten, how he was punished by his mother, right? She was so angry on the boy, spending his time, right, here and there after the school got over, right? Every mothers feel the same, isn't it? When their children to go to school, and if they're late to come, they're worried. They wanted the children to come back right on time, right? So the boy today seemed different in the routine. He was late to come, so the mother was perhaps very worried, right? And when the son turned up, right, she told him to go and get a cane, and with the same cane, She beat him very, very badly. I went to B.Wordsworth's house. So where did I go? When I ran out of my house, swearing that I would never come back, I straight away found a way to my new friend's house, who is B.Wordsworth. Right? I was so angry, my nose was bleeding. Right? So look at the way how he was written. But B.Wordsworth said, "Stop crying and we'll go for a walk." B.Wordsworth looked at me, right? And he wanted to make me comfortable. He wanted to make me happy. So he told, "Stop crying. Let us go for a walk." Right? He said, I stopped crying, but I was breathing short. I was really angry. We went for a walk. We went for a short walk. We walked down St. Clair Avenue District, to the savannah, and we walked to the race course. So these are the places where I was taken to, with the hope that my mood will change. Right? B.Wordsworth helped me, taking me to these places where I can change my mind, right? Where I can change my mood. B.Wordsworth said, "Now let us lie on the grass and look up at the sky." And he brought me to uh, Green Meadow, and then he told me, "Let us lie here for some time," right? And we both lied there on the grass, and he told me to look up in the sky, right? It was already getting dark, and I want you to think how far those stars are from us, and look at the heaven, look at the sky, and those stars, and tell me how far are they? He asked me, right? So let us keep the two of them lying on the meadows, right, and looking up the heaven and counting the stars, right? What happens next, we'll again see in our next online class. So hope you understood till what is done, right? So the remaining portion of the story again we'll see it in our next sitting. Thank you very much.